The chalk dust, it still burns my nostrils even now. I stand here, 17 again, watching Mrs. Henderson pick apart my presentation, piece by painstaking piece. And I smile, just a little, just for myself. Because this time, I know exactly how this story ends. It's not with me in tears. Sustainable fashion technology, Miss Chen? Mrs. Henderson's voice is like fingernails on a chalkboard, a sound I thought I'd forgotten. She taps her pen against my carefully printed slides. A rather ambitious flight of fancy for someone who can barely grasp the fundamentals of a balance sheet. I keep my face neutral. Inside, it's a different story. A weird mix of old fury and new, cold calm. My presentation is about creating textiles from agricultural waste, about smart fabrics that monitor environmental pollutants. It's the seed of what will become Eco-Thread Technologies, the company that will make me a billionaire before I'm 30. Or, well, it did in my last life. The market research, I begin, my voice surprisingly steady, indicates a significant consumer shift towards. The market research, she cuts me off, a smug little smile playing on her lips, often fails to account for the naivety of youth, Miss Chen. This isn't a school project where you get points for dreaming big. This is AP business. We deal in reality here. She circles a projected revenue figure with her red pen, leaving a bloody gash across my 5-year plan. This, for example, is pure fantasy. I remember this exact moment. The way her words felt like tiny, sharp icicles piercing my skin. The way the classroom, usually a dull hum of teenage boredom, had sharpened into a collective, silent judgment. Last time, I'd felt my cheeks burn, my eyes sting. This time, I just watch her. I catalog the condescending tilt of her head, the way her glasses slide down her nose as she peers down at me. It's all data now. The humiliation, though, that's a familiar ghost. It washes over me as a few snickers ripple through the rows of desks. Jason Lee, who in my previous life ended up working in my mailroom after his own brilliant crypto startup imploded, lets out a particularly loud guffaw. Mrs. Henderson doesn't silence him. Of course she doesn't. She thrives on this. It seems, Miss Chen, she continues, her voice dripping with false sympathy, that you're confusing enthusiasm with actual viability. It's a common mistake. She looks around the room, a general addressing her troops. Some students, she says, her gaze landing back on me, hard, need to learn the difference between ambition and delusion. That's the line. That's the one that echoed in my head for years. My hands, holding the useless clicker, don't tremble this time. Last time I dropped it. Last time, I mumbled an apology and practically ran from the front of the classroom. This time, I take a breath. Quiet, deliberate. Mrs. Henderson? I ask, my voice clear, carrying easily to the back of the room. She looks surprised. I don't think she expected me to speak again. Yes, Miss Chen. Could you please repeat that last part, the bit about ambition and delusion? I offer a small, polite smile. For my notes. A flicker of something, confusion, annoyance, crosses her face. The class is silent now, a different kind of silence. Not judgmental, but curious. This isn't in the script they were expecting. I said, she says, her voice a little tighter, that some students need to learn the difference between ambition and delusion. Thank you, I say, equally polite. I don't write anything down I don't need to. Her words are already seared into my memory, twice over. I gather my papers, the ones detailing a future she can't even begin to imagine, and walk back to my seat. I can feel every eye on me. I don't meet any of them. The bell rings eventually, releasing me. I walk out of Northwood High, the scent of old floor wax and teenage angst clinging to me like a second skin. The rain starts then, a miserable, persistent drizzle that matches the gray sky. It's fitting. The streets are slick, reflecting the gloomy afternoon light. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I don't need to look. It's the notification from the TED app. Your daily dose of inspiration. Maya Chen, weaving the future, one thread at a time. The irony is so thick, I could choke on it. That talk, the one that launched Eco-Thread into the stratosphere in my previous life, hasn't happened yet. Not in this timeline. I remember the day I died. I was 32. EcoThread had just gone public. I was on top of the world, they said. Forbes covers, keynote speeches, the whole 9 yards. I was driving home from a celebratory dinner, rain just like this, slicking the roads. A truck hydroplaned. That was it. Then this. Waking up in my 17-year-old body, the morning of Mrs. Henderson's class, the taste of my mother's 2 sweet pancakes still on my tongue. The scent of wet asphalt fills my lungs, sharp and clean. It was the last thing I smelled. It's a constant trigger, a reminder. This time, I won't just survive Mrs. Henderson's cruelty. This time, I'll weaponize it. This time, her words won't be the icicles that pierce me. They'll be the steel I forge into a blade. This second chance isn't just about rebuilding my company, it's about rewriting the narrative. And Mrs. Henderson just handed me the pen. The next AP business assignment is a market analysis for a fictional startup. I deliberately tank it. I turn in 3 pages of rambling nonsense, citing sources that don't exist and making projections that a 5-year-old would question. I watch Mrs. Henderson's face as she hands it back to me a week later, a big, fat scrawled in red at the top. There's a look of grim satisfaction in her eyes, a sort of I told you so expression that she doesn't bother to hide. Miss Chen, she says, her voice laced with that familiar condescending pity. Perhaps this field simply isn't for you. There's no shame in admitting one's limitations. Yes, Mrs. Henderson, I murmur, looking suitably dejected. Maybe you're right. I see her preen. Oh, she loves this. The validation of her initial judgment. I start a new document on my laptop that night, titled Hendersonisms. I type out her exact words, date them, and add a small note about her facial expression. This file will become quite extensive. She's playing her part beautifully, confirming to herself and anyone who will listen that Maya Chen is a well-meaning but ultimately clueless dreamer. The broken student. It's a role I will inhabit with Oscar-worthy dedication. The truth is, while I'm publicly fumbling with basic concepts in her class, privately, the real Maya Chen is already laying the groundwork for EcoThread 2.0. The memories are so vivid. Building the first iteration of EcoThread felt like wrestling a Hydra solve one problem, 2 more sprout. I was 20, living off ramen and caffeine in a cramped dorm room at Stanford. My roommate, bless her cotton socks, thought I was nuts, always muttering about polymer chains and tensile strength when she was trying to study art history. Those first few years were a blur of 16-hour days, grant applications rejected with brutal efficiency, and the constant gnawing fear of failure. The breakthrough came after 3 solid years of dead ends. A new enzymatic process to break down pineapple leaf fibers, making them spinnable into a material stronger than cotton, softer than silk, and completely biodegradable. I remember the moment the lab results came through for patent US 13,587,090 seconds, biodegradable textile composite and method of manufacture. I'd cried, not from joy, not then. From sheer, unadulterated exhaustion and relief. That patent revolutionized fashion. It put EcoThread on the map. It made me. And it will again. There's a kid in my AP business class, Jake Morrison. He sits in the back, hood always up, headphones perpetually on, even when Henderson tells him to take them off. He's the class outcast, the weird tech nerd everyone ignores. In my previous life, Jake Morrison became JP Max, the reclusive founder of Ethelred Systems, a cybersecurity firm that sold for something north of $3 billion. He was a ghost. No public photos, no interviews, just a legend. Right now, though, he's just Jake, the kid who smells faintly of old pizza and solder fumes. He's also a certifiable coding genius. I need him. Hey, Jake, I say one afternoon, catching him as he's trying to slip out before Henderson can assign more homework. He jumps, startled, and pulls off his headphones. Yeah? Maya Chen, from class. I know who you are, he says, not unkindly, just observational, like I'm a bug he's mildly interested in. I was wondering, I say, trying to sound casual, if you know anything about setting up secure shell corporations? For a project. He raises an eyebrow. School project? Something like that. The metallic taste of determination. It's almost a physical sensation in my mouth these days. It's the taste of my old life, of late nights and impossible odds. I start working on the new business plan, the real one, in the dead of night. My parents think I'm studying for my SATs. My teachers think I'm struggling. On Instagram, I cultivate a carefully curated persona, Maya the Dreamer, a slightly lost, overly earnest teenager posting blurry photos of sunsets and inspirational quotes with bad grammar. Likes are minimal. Engagement is pitiful. It's perfect. While Maya the Dreamer is busy being a public failure, the real Maya Chen is building an empire in the shadows. One line of code, one patent application, one meticulously crafted email at a time. A month into my charade, Mrs. Henderson makes an announcement that sends a little thrill down my spine. Class, I want to remind you about the year-end reality check presentations. This is where you will outline your intended career path and defend its viability. It's a significant portion of your final grade. She scans the room. We'll need a volunteer to go first this year to set the standard. Before anyone else can even blink, my hand is in the air. I'll do it, Mrs. Henderson. She looks at me, a flicker of surprise, then that familiar, pitying smile. Very well, Miss Chen. I admire your courage. The trap is set. The bait, my public, spectacular, and utterly fabricated failure, is laid out. Now I just need Mrs. Henderson, in all her smug certainty, to walk right into it. And she will. I'm counting on it. The hiss of the espresso machine at the daily grind is a familiar soundtrack to my new life. It's where I do my best work, surrounded by the low hum of chatter from oblivious classmates and the aroma of burnt coffee. It's here, fueled by a triple-shot latte and the memory of past successes, that I secretly filed the provisional patent for EcoWeave, an improved version of my original biodegradable fabric. This time, I know the loopholes, the shortcuts, the exact language the patent office responds to. The application is cleaner, tighter, more robust. It's exhilarating, like finding a cheat code to a game I've already mastered. In AP business, my performance continues its downward spiral. I ask increasingly naive questions, feigning utter bewilderment at concepts like market segmentation and supply chain logistics. Mrs. Henderson, I'd say, my brow furrowed in fake concentration. I just don't understand how a small startup can possibly compete with established corporations. It seems impossible. Her responses are becoming legendary, at least in my Hendersonisms document. Miss Chen, she'd declare, her voice resonating with the authority of someone who has never risked anything in her life. The business world is not a charity, it's a battlefield. And frankly, some people arrive armed with nothing but good intentions and a handful of glitter. Unrealistic dreamers often become cautionary tales. She'd then use my struggles as a teaching moment for the rest of the class, a public dissection of my supposed incompetence. Each pronouncement, each dismissive wave of her hand, I log it. She's building my case for me, brick by patronizing brick. Jake Morrison, my reluctant future tech guru, remains a puzzle. He's started sitting closer to me in class, not next to me, but within earshot. He still says little, but I catch him watching me sometimes, a strange, assessing look in his eyes. One afternoon, I'm at the daily grind, supposedly wrestling with a particularly convoluted case study Henderson assigned. In reality, I'm debugging a complex encryption algorithm for EcoThread's secure communications platform. I'm stuck, hitting a wall I remember from my previous life, a particular recursive loop that took me weeks to untangle. You're missing a conditional break in your else if statement, a quiet voice says beside me. I jump, nearly spilling my latte. It's Jake. He's pointing at a line of code on my screen. There, if the input string is null, it'll just keep looping. You need to handle that exception. My heart hammers. How did he... My screen is angled away, or so I thought. I stare at him, then at the code. He's right. Of course he's right. It's the exact fix I'd eventually found. How did you... He shrugs, a faint blush rising on his neck. Saw the pattern? It's a common mistake with nested recursions. He hesitates. That's not for Henderson's class, is it? The air crackles with unspoken questions. This is a crossroads. I could lie, deflect, push him away. Or, no, I say slowly, meeting his gaze. It's not. A beat of silence. Cool, he says, then, almost as an afterthought, need any help? The temptation is huge. His genius is legendary, even in my memory. But it's too soon. The stakes are too high. Not right now, I say, offering a small smile. But maybe later. Sure, he says, then retreats back to his own table, leaving me with a rapidly cooling latte and a racing pulse. The foundation is shifting. A week later, an opportunity presents itself, too perfect to ignore. The Northwood County Chamber of Commerce announces its annual Student Entrepreneur Competition. First prize, a $5,000 grant and a mentorship with a local business leader. It's small potatoes, but the platform is what I'm after. Mrs. Henderson, I say after class, adopting my most earnest, slightly desperate tone. I was thinking of entering the Student Entrepreneur Competition. I know my ideas are a bit out there, but I thought maybe... She gives me that look again, the one that mixes pity with a kind of weary exasperation. Miss Chen, while I applaud your persistence, perhaps your time would be better spent focusing on more achievable goals. Oh, I say, my voice trembling slightly. I'm getting rather good at this. I just thought, if I could get some real-world feedback. This is where I play my ace. They're looking for judges, I add, as if it's just occurred to me. Experienced business educators. I saw a flyer. They specifically mentioned wanting teachers with a strong grasp of market realities. I see the flicker of interest in her eyes. Mrs. Henderson's ego is a fragile, easily stroked thing. The thought of being a gatekeeper, a dispenser of market realities on a slightly larger stage than our classroom would be irresistible to her. Is that so? She says, a thoughtful expression on her face. Yes, I say. I'm sure they'd be thrilled to have someone with your expertise. She smiles, a genuine, almost predatory smile this time. Well, perhaps I'll look into it. It's important for students to receive robust guidance. I walk away, the faint scent of her overly floral perfume following me. The pieces are moving into place. 3 months until graduation. 3 months until the reality check presentation. 3 months until Mrs. Henderson learns who and what she really tried to destroy. The day of my reality check presentation arrives cloaked in a typically dreary Pacific Northwest drizzle. The irony isn't lost on me. I walk into AP Business, my carefully crafted, deliberately flawed business plan for a company selling artisanal, hand-knitted llama wool cozies for houseplants clutched in my hand. It's a masterpiece of incompetence. The financials are a joke. The market research consists of interviewing my own fictional grandmother, and the marketing plan involves Etsy and hoping for the best. I stand before the class, Mrs. Henderson watching me with an expression that's 1 part hawk, 2 parts undertaker. I stumble through the presentation, feigning nervousness, mixing up my slides, and accidentally referring to my target demographic as cat ladies, but for plants. When I'm done, there's a moment of stunned silence, then a few muffled snorts. Henderson lets the silence hang, her smile thin and sharp. Well, Miss Chen, she begins, her voice dripping with sarcasm, that was certainly a presentation. And then she begins. It's a tour de force of condescension and brutal public criticism. She eviscerates every point, mocks every projection, questions my very sanity for even conceiving such a patently absurd idea. Llama wool plant cozies? She scoffs, her voice rising. Are you genuinely suggesting this is a viable business in an increasingly competitive global market? This isn't ambition, Miss Chen. This is a cry for help. What she doesn't know is that 3 different students, strategically positioned by me with promises of extra credit for a media studies project, are live streaming her tirade. Another 2 are recording on their phones for social media. I'd casually mentioned how Henderson's critiques were so epic they deserved a wider audience. Teenagers and the lure of potential internet fame, a potent combination. I stand there, absorbing it, letting her words wash over me. I have to actively stop myself from smiling. This is gold, pure, unadulterated viral gold. Within hours, #student shaming is trending locally on Twitter. Clips of Henderson's most vicious barbs are all over Instagram and TikTok. usually set to some ridiculous mocking soundtrack. Teacher Destroys Student's Dumb Dream is a popular title. Instead of backing down or, heaven forbid, apologizing, Mrs. Henderson doubles down. She gives an interview to the local news affiliate, the one with the perpetually overeager intern who covers school board meetings. "I stand by my assessment," she declares, puffing herself up. "In today's world, we do students a disservice by coddling them. Maya Chen is the perfect example of the participation trophy mentality. Some ideas are simply bad, and it's our job as educators to point that out, however uncomfortable it may be." My fingers dance across my laptop keyboard in my bedroom later that night. The soft clicking is the only sound, a counterpoint to the storm of outrage and amusement brewing online. I'm not angry, not anymore. There's a cold, burning fury deep inside, yes, but it's a controlled burn now, fueling my actions. I watch Henderson's interview, then rewatch the clips of my presentation takedown. Each condescending smirk, each dismissive wave of her hand, is a nail in her own coffin. The next day at school, the atmosphere is electric. People are whispering, pointing. I keep my head down, playing the part of the humiliated student. During lunch, Jake Morrison slides into the seat opposite me in the usually deserted corner of the library I've claimed as my own. He doesn't say anything for a long moment, just pushes his laptop around to face me. On the screen is a cached version of my failed llama wool plant cozy presentation. Next to it, another window is open. It's the public database for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And there, clear as day, are two recently filed provisional patents under the name Maya C. Chen, EcoWeave, high tensile strength, biodegradable fiber composite, and method for atmospheric carbon sequestration via bio-integrated textiles. My blood runs cold for a split second before the familiar calm takes over. I knew this moment might come. Jake is too smart. He looks up from the screen, his eyes narrowed, searching mine. "Maya," he whispers, his voice low and intense, staring not at me but at the patent filings, at the complex chemical diagrams and dense legal text. The incorporation documents for EcoThread Innovations, LLC. They were filed 6 weeks ago. Delaware, anonymous registered agent. He finally looks at me, a dawning, incredulous understanding in his eyes. The seed funding? The initial angel investor is listed as MC Trust. That's you, isn't it? He swallows hard. "Maya, you're already a millionaire, aren't you?" The air in the library suddenly feels too thick, the silence charged. Jake's question hangs between us, not an accusation, but a dawning, almost fearful realization. I look at him, really look at him. The perpetual slouch, the guarded eyes, the faint air of someone who expects to be dismissed. He deserves the truth, or at least part of it, the most unbelievable part. "Jake," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "What I'm about to tell you is going to sound insane." He just watches me, waiting. "I died," I say. The words feel strange, alien, even to my own ears. I was 32. I was the CEO of EcoThread Technologies, a global company built on those patents you just found. There was an accident. And then I woke up, back here, 17 again, the morning of Henderson's class. He stares at me, his expression unreadable. Disbelief is the logical reaction. I expect him to laugh, to tell me I'm crazy, to get up and walk away. He doesn't. He just keeps looking at me, his gaze intense. "Prove it," he says finally, his voice flat. Fair enough. "Okay." I take a breath. In 3 days, on Thursday, Apple will announce a surprise update to their M-series chips, focusing on a neural engine enhancement they've codenamed Synapse. It won't be live-streamed. They'll drop it via press release at 9 a.m. Pacific. The stock will jump 7% by noon. I pause. Next Tuesday, a small biotech firm called SomaGen will publish Phase 3 trial results for an Alzheimer's drug that shows unprecedented efficacy. Their stock will triple overnight. And a week from Friday, there will be a major solar flare, Carrington event level, but it will narrowly miss Earth's direct path, causing only minor satellite disruptions. NASA will try to downplay it. Jake's eyes are narrowed in concentration. He pulls out his phone, opens a notes app, and types furiously. He doesn't say if he believes me. He doesn't have to. I've planted the seeds. For the next week, it's a strange, unspoken waiting game. Then, Thursday morning, my phone buzzes. A news alert from a tech blog. Apple shocks industry with surprise M-series synapses. Upgrade. I glance at Jake in class. He's staring at his own phone, his face pale. He doesn't look at me. The Soma Gen news hits the following Tuesday, exactly as predicted. I see Jake refreshing stock market websites during lunch, his expression growing more bewildered. The solar flare happens on Friday. It's all over the news by Saturday morning. Monday, Jake finds me before first period. Okay, he says, no preamble. I'm in. In for what? I ask, though I already know. Whatever this is, he says, gesturing vaguely between us. Whatever you're doing. Building your company again? Getting revenge on Henderson? Both? He shoves his hands in his pockets. I'm good at code, really good, and I'm guessing you need that. Yes, Jake, I say, a genuine smile finally breaking through. I do. And just like that, EcoThread 2.0 has its first employee, or rather, partner. Jake will handle the core tech development, refining the algorithms, building the secure infrastructure. I'll focus on the business strategy, the funding, the patents, and of course, the meticulously planned demolition of Mrs. Henderson's reputation. Speaking of Henderson, she's riding high on her minor wave of local internet fame. The #student-shaming hashtag, while initially critical of her, has attracted a small but vocal contingent of people praising her for her tough love and no-nonsense approach. She's lapping it up. She even accepts an invitation to speak at the state education conference on fostering realistic expectations in a generation of dreamers. The irony is so rich, it's practically decadent. I make a note of the conference date. It's in 2 months. Perfect. Meanwhile, EcoThread Innovations, LLC, operating under its anonymous shell corporation, is starting to make waves where it matters in the world of venture capital. Using my knowledge of future market trends and the specific investors who backed me last time, I send out a few carefully targeted pitch decks. The language is calibrated, the projections audacious, but backed by solid, future-proven science. A week after Jake joins me, an email lands in my encrypted inbox. It's from Novacore Ventures, one of the biggest VCs in Silicon Valley. They're impressed. They want to talk. They're proposing an initial seed round that makes my eyes water, even though I've seen bigger numbers before. The investor, a sharp woman named Anya Sharma, whom I remember well, wants to meet in person, to sign the papers, tomorrow. I check my calendar. Tomorrow is also the day of Mrs. Henderson's big speech at the state education conference. A slow, satisfied smile spreads across my face. Oh, this is going to be good. The irony is a tangible thing, thick and bitter in my throat, almost like the taste of the too strong coffee the venture capital firm serves in their sleek, minimalist boardroom. It's 11 a.m. I'm sitting across from Anya Sharma and her team from Novacore Ventures, the city skyline a glittering, indifferent backdrop through the floor-to-ceiling windows. On the polished mahogany table between us sits a term sheet for $2.3 million in seed funding for EcoThread Innovations. My pen hovers over the signature line. Simultaneously, about 10 miles away, in the significantly less glamorous ballroom of the airport Marriott, Mrs. Helen Henderson is likely stepping up to the podium to deliver her keynote address, fostering realistic expectations in a generation of dreamers. Or, as I like to call it, how I, Helen Henderson, crush souls for a living. I've arranged for a live feed of the education conference to be discreetly playing on a tablet angled just so on my side of the table. Anya probably thinks I'm obsessively checking market data, if only she knew. Everything to your satisfaction, Maya? Anya asks, her smile professional, but with a glint of genuine excitement in her eyes. She sees the future in EcoThread just as she did last time. She just doesn't know I've already lived it. Perfectly, I say, my voice smooth. I glance at the tablet. Henderson is adjusting the microphone, a self-important little cough. Her opening remarks are about the dangers of unchecked youthful optimism. Standard Henderson fare, I time it deliberately. As Henderson launches into an anecdote about a particularly misguided student whose delusional fantasies about, of all things, llama wool plant cozies served as a stark lesson in market realities. I pick up the pen. The conference room where Anya and I are sitting overlooks the sprawling education center complex. With a good pair of binoculars, you could probably see the Marriott. It's a delicious, private little detail. To new beginnings, Anya says, raising an imaginary glass. And to surprising educators, I reply, a small, almost imperceptible smile playing on my lips. I sign the contract. Maya C. Chen, the date. The exact moment Mrs. Henderson is publicly and unknowingly anointing me as the poster child for failed dreams. The ink flows, black and definitive. $2.3 million. Not bad for a 17-year-old who's supposedly failing AP business. This is where Jake's genius comes into play again. He's not just a coder, he's a digital ghost. As I'm signing, Jake, from his command center in his parents' basement, is initiating a live stream. Not of Henderson's speech, but of my investment meeting. He's using a dummy account, something untraceable, and he's pushing it out across multiple platforms. The masterstroke? He's tagged it with #student shaming, #reality check, and, for good measure, #Northwood High exposed. The very hashtags Henderson and her supporters were gleefully using to mock me. He's also feeding the stream to a few select local news bloggers he knows are always hungry for a juicy story. The stream is cleverly framed. You can see me looking poised and professional. You can see Anya Sharma, a known Silicon Valley power player. You can see the NovaCore Ventures logo subtly in the background. You can hear snippets of conversation, revolutionary technology, market disruption, multi-billion-dollar potential. And then, the money shot, a clear view of the term sheet, the $2.3 million figure circled, my signature bold and clear. And it doesn't take long. Local news in the digital age is a hungry beast. Within 20 minutes, as Henderson is probably winding down her speech, her folksy wisdom about the importance of sensible career choices like accounting or mid-level management, no doubt resonating with the assembled educators, the first online articles start to appear. Northwood High student destroyed by teacher for dumb dream. Actually signs multi-million-dollar tech deal during teacher's speech. The headlines are sensational, clickbaity, and utterly, devastatingly true. On my tablet, I watch Mrs. Henderson wrap up her presentation. She's beaming, accepting the polite applause. She probably feels on top of the world. Then I see it. Her hand goes to her pocket. Her phone, no doubt on silent, has buzzed with a notification. Probably from the school principal, or maybe her husband. Or maybe just the Google alert she likely has set up for her own name. Her smile falters. Her eyes flick down. The color drains from her face. The live feed from the conference isn't high definition enough for me to see the exact notification, but I don't need to. I can imagine it. The carefully constructed world of Helen Henderson, pillar of pragmatic education, is beginning to crumble. And the sound of it, even from 10 miles away, is sweeter than any $2.3 million contract. The live stream from the education conference ballroom is, for me, better than any blockbuster movie. Mrs. Henderson stands at the podium, her triumphant closing remarks about guiding young minds away from frivolous pursuits, still echoing faintly. The applause is dying down. And then the shift happens. It's subtle at first. A few heads in the audience dip towards glowing phone screens. A murmur starts at the back, a ripple of hushed whispers spreading outwards. Henderson, initially basking in the post-speech glow, looks out, a slight frown creasing her forehead. She's expecting adulation, perhaps some insightful questions about her robust guidance techniques. Instead, she's met with a sea of confused, rapidly disseminating faces. The fluorescent lights of the ballroom seem to flicker. Or maybe that's just my wishful thinking, adding a dramatic flair to her impending doom. I lean back in the plush leather chair in Anya Sharma's office, a silent observer miles away, savoring every pixel of her dawning horror. Her phone, which she'd discreetly checked a moment ago, must have delivered the payload. The news articles. The live stream of my funding meeting, now going viral with those delicious, incriminating hashtags. She looks pale, genuinely ill. Her composure, usually so rigid, so unshakable, begins to visibly crack. She fumbles with her notes, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. The conference organizer, a harried-looking man with a comb-over, scurries onto the stage, whispering urgently in her ear. Henderson shakes her head, a dazed, uncomprehending gesture. This is the moment I've been waiting for. With a nod from me, Jake, my digital puppet master, hits his end on a pre-drafted statement from the official, though still anonymous, Eco Thread Innovations Twitter account. It's a masterpiece of polite, understated savagery. Sometimes, the best education comes from those who try to limit your dreams. When faced with declarations that your ambitions are delusional or a cry for help, it can be a powerful motivator. Eco Thread Innovations is proud to announce its $2.3 million seed funding round, dedicated to proving that even the most unrealistic fantasies can change the world. Thank you, Mrs. Helen Henderson of Northwood High, for teaching us that some people's opinions are, quite frankly, worthless. Student shaming no more, reality checkmate, eco thread. The internet, as they say, explodes. Teacher eats word starts trending nationally within the hour. Reality checkmate is everywhere. My carefully orchestrated campaign of feigned incompetence, Henderson's brutal public takedown of my llama wool plant cozies, it all comes rushing back into the public consciousness. But this time, the narrative is flipped. Henderson isn't the pragmatic realist. She's the clueless, cruel bully. I'm not the delusional dreamer. I'm the underdog genius who played her teacher like a fiddle. Her earlier interviews, the ones where she pontificated about crushing entitled students and the participation trophy mentality, are unearthed and reshared thousands of times. Each view, each comment, another shovel of dirt on her rapidly imploding career. Memes are born, TikToks are made. Mrs. Henderson, who craved recognition for her strong guidance, is finally getting it, just not in the way she imagined. Anya Sharma, who has been politely pretending not to notice my split attention, finally raises an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips. Having a good day, Maya? It's shaping up, I admit, allowing myself a small, genuine smile. The fallout for Henderson is immediate and brutal. The live stream from the conference shows her being practically booed off the stage as the news spreads through the auditorium like wildfire. The Quanda session is canceled. The harried man with the comb-over looks like he's aged 10 years in 10 minutes. My phone starts buzzing incessantly. Friends from school, people I barely know, even a few teachers, though notably not the principal yet. The messages are a mix of disbelief, congratulations, and thinly veiled requests for summer internships. But this isn't the end. Oh no. Mrs. Henderson's public humiliation is merely the appetizer. My revenge is a carefully planned multi-course meal. The real surprise, the one that will cement her legacy in the annals of educational malpractice, is still coming, and it's going to be delivered on the biggest stage I can manage. The digital storm rages for days. Mrs. Henderson becomes a reluctant internet celebrity, the unwilling face of everything wrong with outdated teaching methods. She issues a tearful, rambling apology video that only makes things worse, claiming she was taken out of context and only ever wanted what was best for Maya. Nobody buys it. The internet has a long memory, and the receipts, those glorious viral clips of her condescending tirades, are everywhere. Amidst this chaos, an email lands in the Eco Thread Innovations inbox, an inbox that is suddenly overflowing with partnership offers, media requests, and, surprisingly, quite a few applications for custodial services. This email, however, is different. It's from the organizers of TEDx Seattle. Dear Eco Thread Innovations team, it begins. We have been incredibly impressed and inspired by the recent story of your founder's resilience and innovative spirit. The narrative of turning such pointed criticism into a catalyst for remarkable success is precisely the kind of idea worth spreading. My heart gives a little lurch. This is it. The same invitation, the same platform that launched Eco Thread into the public consciousness in my previous life. They want Maya Chen, the wunderkind CEO behind the anonymous Eco Thread, to give a talk. The proposed title, Turning Criticism into Catalyst, How No Can Fuel Your Yes. I accept immediately, of course. This isn't just an opportunity, it's destiny, revised and improved. I begin crafting the speech that night. It flows out of me, words I've spoken before on a similar stage, yet imbued with a new, sharper clarity. This time, it's not just about the science, the innovation, the entrepreneurial journey. This time, it's personal. I weave in direct quotes from Mrs. Henderson, her choicest remarks, each one a perfectly polished barb, ready to be deployed. Some students need to learn the difference between ambition and delusion. That will be a slide. This isn't a school project where you get points for dreaming big. Another slide. Unrealistic dreamers often become cautionary tales. Oh, that's definitely going in. Every word she used to try and tear me down will now be a stepping stone in my narrative of triumph. Each quote will be meticulously attributed. Mrs. Helen Henderson, AP Business Teacher, Northwood High. Her name, her title, her institution, forever linked to the very words that will highlight her spectacular misjudgment. My speech isn't just a story of innovation, it's a masterclass in how to dismantle a bully with precision and grace, all while smiling under the bright lights. A week before the scheduled talk, the school principal, Mr. Davies, a man whose spine seems to be made of cooked spaghetti, calls my parents. He wants to arrange a meeting. He implies it's about reconciliation and moving forward. My parents, bless their supportive but thoroughly bewildered hearts, agree. I walk into Mr. Davies' office to find him looking even more harried than usual, and next to him, a pale, visibly diminished Mrs. Henderson. She looks like she hasn't slept in weeks. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her usual severe bun slightly askew. Maya, Mr. Davies begins, his voice oozing a desperate attempt at calm authority. Mrs. Henderson wanted an opportunity to speak with you, privately. Henderson clasps her hands tightly in her lap. Maya, she says, her voice raspy. I wanted to say, I always believed in your potential, truly. I was just using tough love, trying to prepare you for the harsh realities of the world. The audacity of it. Even now, backed into a corner, her reputation in tatters, she's still trying to spin it. I give her a cool, level look. Tough love, Mrs. Henderson? Or was it, and I quote, a cry for help that you were responding to? She flinches as if struck. My methods, perhaps they were unorthodox, she stammers, but my intentions were good. Your intentions are irrelevant, Mrs. Henderson, I say, my voice quiet but firm. Your words, however, have been very instructive. I stand up. If that's all, Mr. Davies. He nods weakly, looking relieved the encounter wasn't more explosive. As I walk out, I hear Mrs. Henderson say, her voice small, the TEDx talk. Are you really going to... I don't turn around. I don't answer. She'll find out soon enough. The TEDx talk is scheduled for the Saturday of graduation week. A delicious piece of timing. Most of Northwood High's faculty will be there. It's a significant local event, including, I've been reliably informed by the organizers who are now practically my biggest fans, one Mrs. Helen Henderson, who apparently still has a ticket from before she became an internet pariah. Perhaps she hopes for a public absolution. She really hasn't learned a thing. They say the path to success is paved with failure, I begin, my voice clear and steady, amplified by the microphone. And that's true, but sometimes it's also paved with the dismissive words of those who can't see beyond their own limited horizons. I take a breath, letting my gaze sweep across the audience. I can't see individual faces in the glare, but I know she's out there. Somewhere. I had a teacher once, I continue, my tone conversational, intimate. A business teacher, in fact. Someone meant to guide, to inspire, to nurture ambition. The first slide appears behind me. It's a simple, stark quote. Some students need to learn the difference between ambition and delusion. Underneath it, in smaller, equally clear font, Mrs. Helen Henderson, AP Business Teacher, Northwood High. A subtle gasp ripples through the auditorium. Not loud, but audible. I feel a grim satisfaction. Imagine being 17, I say, full of ideas, passion, and a perhaps naive belief that you can make a difference. And you present your dream, your meticulously researched, albeit unconventional business plan, and the response you get is, that, I click the remote. The next slide. This isn't a school project where you get points for dreaming big. This is AP business. We deal in reality here. Again, her name, her title. Reality, I muse. What is reality? Is it the confines of a textbook? Is it the echo chamber of a single, uninspired opinion? Or is reality something we create, something we build, often in defiance of those who tell us it can't be done? I walk the stage a little, making eye contact with the darkened mass of people. This teacher told me my ideas were pure fantasy. She said my company was a cry for help. She publicly, and rather gleefully, dismantled my confidence piece by piece in front of my peers. Another click, another quote. Unrealistic dreamers often become cautionary tales. Mrs. Helen Henderson, AP business teacher, Northwood High. This time the murmuring is louder. People are shifting in their seats. I can almost feel the dawning comprehension, the uncomfortable recognition. Now, I could have let those words define me, I say, my voice dropping slightly, drawing them in. I could have accepted her reality. I could have shrunk. I could have become that cautionary tale. I pause for effect, and for a while I played that part. I let her believe she'd won, that she'd successfully crushed another entitled student's unrealistic dream. But here's the thing about criticism, I say, my voice rising now, filled with a conviction that's bone deep. It can either be a wall or it can be a whetstone. It can stop you or it can sharpen you. I move through the rest of my planned speech talking about eco-thread, about the science, about the potential of sustainable technology. But I keep returning to her words. Each quote is a pivot point, a springboard for a lesson on resilience, on perseverance, on the vital importance of believing in yourself when no one else does. I'm not just giving a talk about my company, I'm dissecting her negativity, transforming her poison into my platform, and then for the big finish. The journey to creating EcoThread wasn't easy, I say. There were countless obstacles, but ironically, one of the greatest catalysts for my determination came from that very teacher. My eyes scan the audience, trying to pierce the darkness. And I believe she's here tonight. A collective intake of breath. You could hear a pin drop. So, Mrs. Henderson, I say, my voice ringing out clear and strong, wherever you are, I want to say thank you. Thank you for providing such perfect, such eloquent examples of what not to say to a student who dares to dream. Thank you for showing me exactly the kind of person, the kind of leader, the kind of educator I never want to become. Your words didn't break me, they built me. The silence stretches for a beat, 2 beats. Then the applause starts. It's hesitant at first, then it swells, growing into a thunderous ovation. People are on their feet. I stand there under the bright lights, letting it wash over me. It's not just applause for my company, for my innovation. It's applause for the takedown they just witnessed. But it's not over. The final twist, the one that will truly immortalize her, is still to come. This speech is just the beginning of her public footnote. My TEDx talk doesn't just go viral, it explodes. It's picked up by national news outlets, then international ones. Forbes runs a feature. Teen CEO turns teacher's scorn into startup success. The Guardian publishes an op-ed titled, Are We Equipping Students for the Future or Just Crushing Their Dreams? The Cautionary Tale of Mrs. Henderson. Overnight, Mrs. Helen Henderson, AP business teacher from Northwood High, becomes the unwitting poster child for educational negligence and everything wrong with an outdated, spirit-crushing pedagogical approach. Her name is a hashtag. Her face, usually severe and smug in the clips that accompany every news story, is a meme. The fallout is swift and brutal. The Northwood High School district, facing a PR nightmare of epic proportions, quietly, very quietly, asks Mrs. Henderson to take early retirement. The official story is that she wants to spend more time with her family. Unofficially, she's a pariah. Her husband, a mid-level accountant with a penchant for golf and a low tolerance for public scandal, files for divorce within 6 months, citing irreconcilable differences and extreme public embarrassment. Her carefully constructed world, built on the bedrock of her own perceived intellectual superiority, has crumbled to dust. Meanwhile, EcoThread Technologies flourishes. The $2.3 million seed funding is just the beginning. We secure Series A, then B, then C, each round larger than the last. Jake Morrison, my brilliant, reclusive partner, develops groundbreaking AI that optimizes our biodegradable fabric production, making it cheaper, faster, and even more environmentally friendly. We expand into new markets, new product lines, smart textiles that filter air pollution, self-repairing fabrics, medical-grade biodegradable materials. The delusional fantasy is now a multi-million, soon-to-be billion-dollar enterprise. 5 years after that fateful AP business presentation, my biography is published. Thread of Steel, The Making of Eco Thread, and The Woman Who Dared to Weave the Future. It's a bestseller, naturally. Critics praise its honesty, its insight, its inspiring message of perseverance. Mrs. Henderson makes an appearance, a very small one. In the acknowledgments, buried deep amongst thanks to mentors, investors, and my incredibly patient parents, there is a single concise sentence. And special thanks to Mrs. H. Henderson, whose unwavering belief that some dreams should be crushed provided the author with invaluable, if unintentional, motivation. A footnote. That's all she is. A footnote in my story, a minor character whose only significance was her profound, spectacular misjudgment. It's a quiet, literary revenge, far more satisfying than any public screaming match could ever have been. 2 years after the biography hits the shelves, a letter arrives at my corner office, the one that overlooks the glittering expanse of the city, 30 floors below the streets I once walked as a supposedly broken student. The envelope is cheap, the handwriting shaky but familiar. It's from Helen Henderson. I open it with a strange sense of detachment. It's what I expect. A rambling, self-pitying apology, full of excuses and pleas for understanding. She talks about her ruined life, her loneliness, her regret. She says she finally understands, and then the kicker, at the very end, scrawled almost illegibly. P.S. I don't suppose EcoThread has any openings. I'm a hard worker. I learn fast. I fold the letter carefully. The paper's rough texture a stark contrast to the sleek, expensive stationery I usually handle. Outside, the traffic hums, a distant, rhythmic pulse. The setting sun paints the skyscrapers in hues of orange and gold. I think about forgiveness, about second chances, about the fine line between justice and cruelty. I think about the 17-year-old girl she tried to break, and the woman that girl became, twice. Then I pick up my phone, the cool metal familiar in my hand, and dial HR. Sarah, I say, my voice calm, measured. I have a position that's just opened up. It needs filling immediately. Certainly, Miss Chen. What's the role? I look out the window at the vast, sprawling city, a world of dreams realized and denied. Custodial services, I say, night shift. Some dreams die hard, others, like mine, simply refuse to die at all. And some people just end up cleaning the toilets. It's a reality check after all.